What's going on, everybody? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and you all know that I am a fairly big opponent of pro-corporate, anti-consumer behavior. That's right, I think all that chicanery and shenanigans is a load of bullshit that we shouldn't have to deal with. After all, they're vying for our money, they shouldn't feel entitled to it, and, well, you know how it goes. So, one of the biggest, most anti-consumer things going on for the last roughly about a year or so, give or take, is the Epic Game Store. And they're buying up timed exclusivity of third-party games. Now again, if they were only putting their first-party games, if they even had any at this point, on their own system, their own digital launcher, whatever, I wouldn't have an issue with this. After all, it's their launcher, it's their game, they can do whatever they want with it. Just like, say, Origin and EA, Rockstar and their launcher. But you see my point. Now, back to the rest of it here, because we all know that they have done multiple situations like this as well. They have bought up games that have had no previous announcement, have had no previous pre-order time. They've also done the same kind of thing, and they've bought up ones that have had pre-order windows, that have had long, year-long, over a year long pre-order windows on competitive storefronts, and they would buy up a game 2 weeks before its original planned release, despite, maybe 16, 18 months or whatever it is of pre-order time on different stores. And they typically pay an absolute exorbitant amount for this. It's basically an offer you can't refuse. For example, Control from Remedy, that is a 1-year timed exclusive on the Epic Game Store, and Epic Games paid $10 million for that, which equates to roughly about 155,000 copies, but you see my point. Now, I've always theorized that this whole thing that they do with buying up exclusives and whatnot, it just doesn't work. It's just not as profitable, and it's not getting the proper market that they want. Basically, what they want to do is they want to get all these big name games, these high profile games, get them on the Epic Game Store for maybe 6 months or a year first, to get people to go to the Epic Game Store and possibly not only just buy that game. I generally don't believe it's to buy that game, because after all, they've paid such a huge amount for these exclusives that they do need to sell an absolute considerably shitload amount of games in order to even make back what they paid for it. But what I think they're trying to do, just like along with giving their free games every few weeks or whenever it is, what they want to do is they want to have people build up enough of a library on the Epic Game Store that people will consider starting to use the Epic Game Store as their primary launcher, where they have maybe eventually 100 games on the Epic Game Store, 5 of which may have been timed exclusive, the other 95 are probably free. But they want someone to say, oh, well, this new multi-platform game is coming out. I don't think I'll bother buying it on Steam. I'll just buy it on the Epic Game Store. Now, I don't think this is going to be successful. I don't think it's going to work in that way. I basically don't know a single person that does that in any way, shape, or form. And I think Epic Games know this as well. And through some of their actions over the last maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 months or so, they've kind of basically, if you will, reconfirmed what I just theorized. Because we all know that Epic Games is out specifically to fuck Steam over. They're not doing it to completely screw everyone over, because they have the likes of the Ubisoft agreement, for example, where big games like The Division 2 and whatever else Ubisoft has coming out will come out on Uplay as well as Epic Games Store. And we've seen in the past situations where they tried to buy up games that had been announced for Steam. People would decline this offer, and then they would just completely shut them down about the possibility of releasing multi-store. So it's clear that they're specifically out to fuck over Steam. This has happened in a couple of other ways as well, in different ones and different situations, like for example, Rockstar. Steam now has a policy where you cannot launch your game on Steam if it's more than 1 month released prior on a different platform. Hence why when you look at Red Dead Redemption 2, it released on pretty much every digital storefront except for Steam, and then 1 month later released on Steam. But back to my main point anyways, clearly Epic Games knows this isn't working and it's not paying off. I have no doubt in my mind, with maybe one exception, the amount of money they pay for all of these games is just not being made back. The possible exception may be Borderlands 3. but we don't even know how much they paid for that. But given what they have paid for other high-profile games and just the sheer magnitude of what Borderlands 3 is, and the fact that they only could do it for 6 months, it leads me to believe that's considerably higher than Control. However, that one may have made it back. But anyway, in order to recoup some of these losses, and now don't get me wrong, I am not saying in any way, shape or form that Epic are struggling for money. They make more money from Fortnite every single day than many other companies do in an entire year. But in order to claw back some of the money that they have basically wasted on all of this, we have seen situations where they are willing to break their exclusivity deal in order to, well, recoup some of the losses. Some notable examples are just recently Phoenix Point, which is in kind of a whole bit of a mess situation really, and I'm not going to fully detail that one just yet, but also Metro Exodus. Despite it being a timed 1-year exclusive on the Epic Games Store, well, it looks like that one has come to the Windows 10 store several months later. Wow, has it really been almost a year since Metro Exodus came out? Holy shit, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like maybe 2 or 3 months ago I acquired that game, if you will. Boy, time flies. Just like with Borderlands 3 and how I'm going to wait for that one. But speaking of Borderlands 3, we have yet another one that is clearly designed specifically to fuck Steam over. Not the whole thing in general, but Steam. Because yes, Epic Games have also come out and now, well, I shouldn't say Epic. Gearbox have come out and announced that as of today, Borderlands 3 is available on one of the worst gaming platforms in history. No, I'm not talking about the Nintendo Switch. No, I'm not talking about the Philips CDI. No, we are talking about Google Stadia. That's right, Borderlands 3, as of today, the 17th of December 2019, is available on Google Stadia. It's not available on Steam yet, but it's available on Google Stadia. What does that tell you? Well, that tells you that they're willing to walk it back for money to make something back. Probably something that they lost on. So we see through your lies and we see through your bullshit, Timmy Tencent. You claim to be doing the best for the industry. You claim to be helping the industry. No, you're trying to kill the industry with this. And it is absolutely 100% clear that you're gunning for Steam and no one else. You're willing to bend over backwards for all this other crap, break your deals left, right and center, but at this point, you're not even trying to fucking hide it. Currently, the Google Stadia version of Borderlands 3 does have all the updated patches and fixes and hotfixes and whatnot. It doesn't have all of the actual proper DLC or anything just yet, of which I believe there's only one of right now. But they're planned to launch at some point in early 2020. But again, it's Google Stadia. All 4 journalists that claim to be playing this can pretend to be enthusiastic about this.